So once again, good evening to all of you, and thank you now for being here for the part 4 of our majorship review. A few days to go before your board exam, and hopefully we can still recall the basic and salient concepts that are usually being asked in the board exam. So this is majorship, so there were uh, concepts and there were salient points that we need to remember, and as much as possible we need to cover all areas that might be sources for the questions. But overall, again, when I'm emphasizing concepts in our review, that means these are typically being asked in the board exam. So God bless to all of you bio majors, and manifesting that you'll be able not to pass or even surpass the board licensure examination for professional teachers. Remember that commonly or typically, those who are topping the board exam, commonly, based on my observations, are actually biological science majors. Not because they are good, in conceptual memorization, but of course, they are a lot of basic terms in biology are somewhat part of your basic or foundational knowledge or stock knowledge. I hope that you will all pass the board exam, and yes, fighting, so keep on fighting, I'm just so excited, on the questions that will be asked in the coming board exam. But anyway, yeah, so these are some of the basic questions again that we're going to review. This might be very familiar already sa inyong lahat dahil nakapagbasa kayo for the past month. And tayo ay nagre-reinforce lang ng mga concept na to para nang sa gano'n na hindi natin makalimutan, and hopefully mas matandaan natin through this review session. Okay, so let's start with the first question. What would be the sequence of bases in RNA if the sequence of bases in DNA is TAGC? AGCTA, BATCG, CTAGC, or letter D, AUB. So basically, this is your basic genetics, from DNA to mRNA. All right, you can write your answer via everyone or via direct message. Okay. All right, so that is correct. Letter D, AUCG. So we'll just have to get the complementarity DNA base. So first we can actually replicate the DNA strand, TAGC. So if we're going to get the complementary DNA, so we have ATCG because T always pairs with A, and then G always pairs with C. So GCAT, diba? G to C, guanine to cytosine, adding to thymine. And so if we're going to tawag dito, transcribe that from these DNA to RNA, we have AU. We're going to replace thymine to uracil, then C. So the answer is AUCG, right? So again, these are your TAGC is actually your DNA bases, DNA bases. So here, so we can see here the DNA genotypes, since this pertains to the genetic characteristics. Remember your genotype and phenotype. When you say genotype, the genetic makeup or characteristics, while the phenotype makes up the physical characteristics. So you have here the 3' to 5' and 5' to 3'. So we have here the sequence, and then we'll just have to complement it with their corresponding DNA base pair. So A to T, A, T, C, G, G, C, C, G, and so on. Okay, and then we're going to from your DNA replication, we have your transcription. So we're going to transcribe it. So we'll just copy it A. Then we're going to replace thymine to uracil G, C, of course, replaced by uracil, etc. Okay. Then we're going to translate it by ribosomes. Remember, no, codon. So we have three letter, no, here that will actually make up your codon. So for example, AUG, we have methionine, then CGG arginine, UAC tyrosine, then UUA leucine. That would compose your polypeptide. And when you hear, for example, in the board exam, peptide, polypeptide, this pertains to proteins. So if you hear monosaccharides, yeah, let's review your macromolecules. When you say monosaccharide, what macromolecule is that? Monosaccharide, disaccharide, polysaccharide. We're talking about carbohydrate. That's correct. When you talk about glycerol, what is that? Glycerol. Carbohydrate? Is it protein? Is it nucleic acid? Is it lipid? Of course, that is your lipid. Glycerol, or you have also fatty acids. Okay? How about steroid? Okay, nga. Steroid. Ano naman pag steroid na nakita? Steroid, wax, yan. Ano yung mga yon? Oil. These, of course, are included no under lipids. So tatandaan nyo, these are basic, no? These are basic concepts. What else? How about, for example, DNA, RNA? What macromolecule is that? DNA, RNA. Of course, these are your nucleic acid. Okay? So that's it, no? And then, of course, you have your phenotype here, the physical characteristic. Okay? So you have here, no, the different codons, no, which actually corresponds to different amino acid. Remember that the building block of protein is amino acid. So pag nakita sa board exam, monomer of may kumatawag. Here na po. If for example, tinanong monomer of protein, anong isasagot? Sige nga. Monomer of protein, that's the question. What's the monomer of protein? Your answer would be amino acid. How about monomer of carbohydrate? Monomer of carbohydrate. Sige nga. How do we call that? Monomer of carbohydrate, that is your glucose or sugar or monosaccharide. How about monomer of lipid? Monomer of lipid. Okay, so that is of course correct, your fatty acid or glycerol. So there are how many stop codons? Ilan na ulit ang stop codons natin? We have 3, no? So ito yun, no? We have the UAA, UAG, and the UGA. Huwag, uga, no? So niloloko lagi namin to, no, sa mga batchmate ko. Pag sinabi nilang wag, no, stop 'yon, no? Wag, stop. And then walang nagawa, umuga, uga. Okay? And then wala nang nagawa, umiyak na lang, huwag. So basically, no, although this is kind of tawag dito, kind of green, no? Pero yan. Sabi dito, kwento daw yan ng rape. Oo. Pero, of course, lang yun, no? Of course, that's just our way, no, of remembering. But of course, we do not, tawag dito, we do not tolerate any form of rape. No? So, yun. Alright, so wag, no? Uga, then wag. So, these are the stop codons. Again, tatlo ang stop codons natin. Okay? So, ayan. So, you have the different sequence. Now, you can read it. Paano ba binabasa to? For example, we have here U, for example. Then, for example, the first letter na U, the second letter here, U, and the third letter here is G. Okay? So, you have U. Okay, for example, U, U, G. So, dito siya. U, U, G, leucine, for example. We have phenylalanine, proline, yan, iba-iba yan. So later titignan natin kung ilan nga ba yung mga amino acids na to at ilan nga ba yung tinatawag natin essential. Okay? So ayan. So usually sa board exam naman, medyo lang yan, usually for transcription, translation, yan. Usually, pag sa ano, hindi naman kailangan nasa ulado nyo lahat yung amino acids. Okay? So, ayun, the same concept, no, for the DNA transcription for RNA synthesis, from DNA replication to the transcription of mRNA. You just have to replace thymine, okay, thymine to uracil. So just A, C, thymine, uracil, cytosine, adenine, guanine, guanine, uracil, uracil, cytosine, and adenine. All right, so that is on transcription. Okay, next, animal cells contain mitochondria. Plant cell contain chloroplasts. Do plant cells contain mitochondria? A, yes. B, sometimes. C, no. D, none of the above. So what's the answer? All right, that's correct. Of course, they are actually, they contain no mitochondria. Remember that both the animal and plant cells contain the mitochondria, which we know as the powerhouse of the cell. All right, where cellular respiration take place or occur. Okay, so that is mitochondria both in the animal cell and in the plant cell. Okay, so chloroplast, no, chloroplast is of course absent, no, in animal cells. You know this already because chloroplast is actually responsible for photosynthesis. Question, pag tinanong sa board exam, where is the site for the electron transport chain? Or what is the site for electron transport chain or ETC? What organelle? So anong isasagot? Sige nga, pakilagay nga sa chat box. Pag yun yung tanong sa board exam. Okay. 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 So actually, it's in the what organelle? It's in the mitochondria. So bahagi yan no, ng ating cellular respiration. So yan natatandaan. Okay, next. What is the process that uses microbes to break down pollutant in the environment, particularly the soil? A, bioremediation. B, bioelimination. C, pollutant breakdown. D, environment eradication. The process, no, where we use microbes to break down pollutants so that we can replenish the soil for planting or for agricultural purposes or agricultural productivity. We call it, of course, bioremediation. How do you call the type of bioremediation where we use plants as organisms, no, that would actually break down pollutants? How do we call that type of bioremediation? Okay, so that is phytoremediation, since phyto means plants. Now, although we also have different microorganisms, different bacteria, which we can use for bioremediation. Okay, which blood type has neither anti-A nor anti-B and can receive blood from anyone? AO, BA, CB, DAB. Okay. Alright, so medyo iba-iba. I can see A and B, no? So dalawa hati ang grupo. I can say A and B. So again, can receive blood. So pag can receive, nakakatanggap siya from anyone, recipient. Alright, so ibig sabihin universal recipient siya. At pag universal recipient, that is D. Kapag naman nagbibigay siya, kaya niya magbigay ng blood to anyone, that is universal donor, which is of course your O. Dana, universal donor, blood type O, universal recipient, that is type AB. All right, so yes. So again, you can give blood to everyone. Okay, you can donate. Oh, but you can receive blood from everyone that is type AB. All right. So tatandaan. Again, how do we call the study of blood? Can you put it in the chat box? How do you call the study of blood? That is correct. Hematology. All right. Yeah. Next. Which of the following factors contribute to an increase in a town's human population? A, immigration and natality. B, emigration and mortality. C, emigration and natality. D, immigration and mortality. So pinag-usapan natin ito last time, no? The difference between immigration and emigration. So what's your answer? The question is pagpapataas ng populasyon. Okay? Pag ang purpose, no, ang mga factors na nagpapataas ng populasyon ay syempre isa na dito ang natality. O sige. So natality or birth rate. So tanggalin na natin yung may mortality. So A or C lang ang ating pamimilian. Okay? So A or C, I can see C, I can I can see a lot of A's, I can see letter C. Okay. Okay. Ganito lang ang technique, no, para hindi kayo malilito. The keyword natin is increase. Letter I, di ba? So pag increase, no, inside, we go inside the population, organism go inside, that is immigration. So immigration, pagpasok ng organism doon sa lugar. So pag pumasok yung organism sa lugar, tataas ang populasyon, mag-i-increase. Okay? Natality, of course, bahagi yan. That is natality, which means birth rate. Sige, let me charge my laptop. Saglit lang. I'll just plug it in the Alright, so that's it, no? So let us accept. Alright, so hatatandaan again, inside, go inside an area, immigration, the natality is birth rate. Now, question, ano naman yung mortality? Sige nga, what is mortality? If natality is birth rate, what is mortality? Of course, that is the death rate. Tayo ay mga mortal, lagi nating naririnig yan, no? Sa mga telefantasya, sa mga sa mga fantaserye, di ba? So, mga mortal. Kasi we actually will face death, no? Later. So, death rate or mortality, natality is birth rate. Kaya nga pag, di ba, birthday nyo, happy natal day. So, means that's for birthday. Alright? So, emigration, sir, ano ba yung emigration? Kung immigration is when an organism go or enter, no, a certain area to increase, for example, the human population. Emigration is when an organism leave or move out in an area. So that is immigration. To visualize that, I think I have. So that's the answer is letter A, immigration and natality. Pag ang tanong to decrease, emigration and mortality. Okay? So to visualize that, ito yan, diba? So we have emigration, okay? So emigration when these particular organism exits, no, from this area. Okay, when it goes inside an area, then that is immigration. Inside, then exit. Yes, that's correct. No, laging natin tatandaan. Inside and then exit. I, inside, immigration, exit, emigration. Question, how do you call the different or a group, no, of organisms? How do you call again the group of organisms? Okay. The group of species or the group of organisms? Of course, that is population. Tatandaan. Question, how do you call again the study of population? How do you call again the study of population? Okay, part of our ecology. That is demography. So we call it demographer, those who actually study population. All right. Question, how do you call a survey of the entire population in an area? How do you call a survey of the population in an area in a specific time? Of course, that's part of your census. And what agency in the Philippines is concerned or is in charge with that? So PSA or Philippine Statistics Authority. Okay? But of course, in ecology, we do sampling. No? May mga ecological, may mga population sampling na ginagawa kasi nga it's impossible naman, no, to really for example, no, account for a population, example especially those organisms in the aquatic or marine area. Okay, so next, plants are like animals because of the presence of a spores, the meristem, the chloroplast, the mitochondria. What's the answer? Okay. Yes, because we're comparing the plants to that of the animal. So we cannot say spores because animals do not have spores. Okay, plants and fungi do have. Meristem lalo na, and then chloroplasts. Especially this is used now for photosynthetic process, and so we have letter D, mitochondria. Okay, so next, food preparation is handled well to avoid spoilage caused by blank. In the preparation, and processing of food products. A, mislabeling. B, bad weather. C, unsanitary conditions. D, miscalculations. What's the answer? All right, that's correct. So that's part of unsanitary condition. So it will to avoid spoilage caused by these unsanitary conditions. So we have to handle the food very well. All right. Ayan. Okay, sige, next. So mitochondria, remember, is a site of cellular respiration, and remember, what type of metabolism is cellular respiration? Is it anabolism or catabolism? Okay, syempre, nandyan na, very obvious. Nandito, catabolism. Alright, so break down larger molecules into smaller to generate energy. So generate energy in presence of oxygen. That's why there's also what we call aerobic respiration. Aerobic, which means it needs oxygen. Alright, so of course, cellular respiration happens, in the presence of oxygen. Therefore, can you type in the chat box, what are the two raw materials for cellular respiration? Yeah. What are the two major raw materials for cellular respiration? You have the glucose and oxygen. Ito siya, breakdown of sugars or the glucose, and of course, in the presence of oxygen. And of course, the products of cellular respiration are, ano? Yeah, so you have, of course, your carbon dioxide and what? Water. Carbon dioxide and water. Okay? So for anabolism, we mentioned this before. So we have building molecules that body needs, while catabolism breaking down large molecules into smaller molecules. So pag tinanong sa board exams in terms of energy, okay, anabolism requires energy while catabolism releases energy. Okay, so some hormones, we have estrogen, testosterone, insulin, growth hormone. Then for catabolism, we have adrenaline, cortisol, glucagon, and cytokines. So ayan, so which are often anaerobic in nature, then aerobic for catabolism and good at burning fat and calories. So example, we have also amino acids becoming polypeptides for proteins, then glucose becoming glycogen, and fatty acids becoming triglycerides. Okay, while for catabolism, proteins becoming amino acids, proteins becoming glucose, glycogen becoming glucose, or triglycerides becoming fatty acids. Okay, so it's the other way around. Okay, so next, school feeding and milk rationing programs. The school children are being implemented with the government. The project is assigned to A, provide food supplements. B, have POGI points. C, stop malnutrition among school children. D, special program of DepEd and DOA. Alright. Sige, I can see B. I can see C. Okay. Seryoso, no? Okay, sige. Alright. Anyway, of course, that's very obvious. Okay, so stop malnutrition among school children. Okay, so we actually have to stop malnutrition among school children. That's the very foundation, the very reason why milk rationing is there at school feeding. But it has to be sustainable. It should not be a one-stop shop program. It must be monitored and must be sustainable. Yan, Nutriban before, diba? And yung mga, ang dami, I can remember when I was in elementary, may mga parang milk or bread silang din-distribute. But as of now, although very limited na lang, Milo, yung nakakaano kasi base ito sa needs analysis din ng mga teachers who are considered to be malnourished. Okay? So next. Ayan, so lumabas din sa board exam, no, majorship, itong mga to, no, kwashiorkor and marasmus. So pag nakita sa board exam, ano nga ba yung kwashiorkor, no, kakita nyo dyan, protuberant belly, no, malaki yung tiyan niya. And this is actually the result of severe malnutrition or lack of protein. So pag tinanong which is lack, no, what particular nutrient is lack or macromolecule is lack, with a person who has a kwashiorkor, that is protein. Right? Now, for marasmus, you can see there naman from prominent bones. You can see the bones in there, decrease in subcutaneous fat in here. Okay, then loose skin. You can actually classify that as a person having marasmus, no, or nutrient deficiency. So it lacks the major macromolecules, proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. Okay, so you can see also in kwashiorkor, may cirrhosis, itchy rash, and poor wound healing. All right, so again, that's kwashiorkor, lack of protein, marasmus, nutrient deficiency. Okay, tatandaan. Okay, so next. All right, is a group of interacting plants, animals, and human in particular area, A, structural, B, food chain, C, living organism, D, ecological. That's the answer, teachers. Okay, I can see. All right, that's correct. That is ecological community. Okay, when you have group of different populations, okay, in an area, that can be considered as community. Remember, you have organism, group of organism, population, group of population, community, group of communities. That is your ecosystem, and then this ecosystem will actually make up our biosphere. So that is ecological community. Okay. Ano pa ba ang tinatanong? How do you call, for example, no, we have the biosphere. And you know that the biosphere is composed of the living and also the non-living, because we have to interact with the abiotic or the non-living. Question, how do you call the life portion of the biosphere? Pag yan ang tanong sa board exam, the life portion. We only are accounting for the life, excluding the non-living. What is the term that we use there? Biotic components, or we call it biotic, or what? Other term? We call it living. Okay, that's a good answer. That is bio. Remember, no, natatandaan nyo ba? So biota, this is actually the life portion. So that is the life portion of the biosphere. Okay, so next. So for ecological community, of course, there are interactions between all living things in an area. That's why you have coevolution. Changes encourages by interactions between two or more species. So there is predator versus prey, herbivore versus plant. Now, you know very well that herbivore is actually a plant-eating consumer. No? So that is herbivore versus plant. So food availability, no, creates complex interactions. You have optimal foraging theory. Animal must balance the energy spent to get food with the energy they get from eating it. So that's its optimal foraging. Let's say foraging is something to do with the feeding. Diba? So how do you optimize the way you eat, you know, the way an animal gets food? You know? So we have to balance the energy that we spend in getting food with the energy we get, you know, from eating it. So it actually determines the diet. So pag nakita yan. And then nasabi ko na to, no, in our earlier review, that specialties are animals that eat one or few types of animals. Example, you have your panda, which actually feeds on bamboo, which is of course a type of grass. Well, generally it eats almost anything. So like humans, we can be considered as generalists. We can eat, for example, bread. We can eat flesh. We can eat isda, pork, diba? Yung mga yan. Now, how do you call the meat of goat? Diba? Natandaan nyo ba? How do we call the meat of goat? It starts with letter C. O baka lang matanong sa bio. Ano na nga ulit? Yes. Chat natin. That's correct, no? Okay, may nasumagod by direct message. That's correct. We call it chivon, diba? The meat of goat. All right? Ayan, kinilaw. Yeah. Actually, in Gen Ed, parang na lumabas na yung tawag doon, word, I mean, term na kinilaw or kilawin. Parang klase ng pagkain na parang, 'di ba, parang raw lang siya sa traditional na Pilipino na pwedeng isda or karne yun. So, ayun, kilawin or kinilaw. Ayan, imagine. So, ayan. All right. So, that's for, yeah, that's for Siobhan. Question, how do you call naman the manure, i-relate ko lang, yung manure naman ng mga bots, which of course, use as fertilizers. Okay, ano naman yun? Letter G. Okay, that's correct. We call it guano. Okay, so that's guano. Okay, so it's actually a good fertilizer. All right, so these are some insects or animals that can walk on water surface. This is made possible by surface tension, surface adhesion, dense on surface capillary. What is that? Of course, that is letter, yes, that is letter A, flooding A is here, I can see. So, yes, surface tension, it's actually the property of water, yung parang may film surface siya, thin film surface, where insect like water strider, yan, or other animals can actually pass through or walk through. Okay, adhesion, remember, pag adhesion to different materials or substances, water to glass molecule, water molecule versus glass molecule. Pag cohesion, water molecule plus water molecule, right? So that is cohesion. Capillarity is something to do with the capability or capacity of the plants, to for example, for water to go upward, through narrow tubes and be distributed to different parts of the plant. So that's part of our capillarity or capillary action. Okay, toothpick also, yes. Toothpick, yeah, kapag daw nag-float ang toothpick, what particular water properties that, property of waters that is surface tension. Apart from toothpick, meron pa ba paper clip? Yan, ginagamit din nila yan. Paper clip, toothpick, yan. Mosquito, yes. It can also, pass through or walk through these water surface. Okay? So ano pa? Okay, sige. So surface tension, the cohesive forces among the liquid molecules. So when you say cohesive, cohesion, water to water molecule, the relationship of water between water molecules. So responsible for these phenomena, so water molecule at surface and water molecule hydrogen bond and below surface. Okay, lamo. Yes, that's correct. Okay. Ayan, paperclip, yan. So because of surface tension. Okay. In the hierarchy of biology taxonomy, if dominant is at the top, which is at the bottom, kingdom, species, genus, family. Anong sagot? Of course, that is, yes, sahod, sabi dito. So that is letter B or species. Okay? Species is actually at the bottom. Although there are researchers now na parang they would like to propose another taxonomical classification to be very to have it more least inclusive pa. But of course, that's still part of the ongoing researchers in taxonomy. All right, question. Pag tinanong kayo, basic unit of taxonomical classification, what is the answer? Basic unit of taxonomical classification. Your answer will be, because it's a very basic unit. Pag basic unit, it's actually the species. So basic unit yan. Okay, so basic unit of taxonomical classification kasi ito yung pinakamababa. So we can actually understand several organisms through species. How do you call the occurrence of new species? How do you call the occurrence of new species? Sige nga, tatandaan nyo ba? Pag nagkaroon ng bagong species, how do you call that process? We call it speciation. That's correct. Question, how do you call the lost of species? How do you call the loss of species? Loss pala. Loss of species. We call it extinction. Alright? So what else? Ano pang pwede nating tanong? Okay, we're talking about units. Sige nga, random lang to. Very basic. Pamigay. Sabi nga namin, kapag nakakakita kami ng sobrang daling question sa PRC board, sasabihin namin, ano ba yan? Pamigay na tanong. Sige, gawa tayo. Pamigay na tanong. Okay. How do you call the basic unit of life? Sige, put it in the chat box. Mga pamigay ito. Okay, call it cell. Ang bilis. That's correct. How do you call the basic unit of matter? How do you call the basic unit of matter? Okay, mabilis pa rin. Ang dami, sabay-sabay. That's correct. Atom. How do you call the basic unit of How do you call the basic unit of evolution? How do you call the basic unit of evolution? Oh, medyo tataas tayo ng konti kasi pang majorship. Pamigay ba yan? Alright, population ha. So basic unit of evolution, population. Ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng mag-evolve ang isang species lang. Kung for example si Ace, ibig sabihin, humabang ilong niya, siya lang ang humabang ilong, we cannot consider it yet an evolution. But for example, all of us here in the Zoom platform, humabang ilong, we are a group of organisms, so we are a population, and so that can be considered as an evolution. So basic unit of evolution is population. All right, meron pa ba tayong basic unit? Sige, yun na lang muna. So ayan, sorry, meron pa. Basic unit of ecology. Basic unit of ecology. Last na muna. Okay, basic unit of ecology. Mukhang ano So actually, ang basic unit of ecology sa nagsisimula, remember, species or organism. So organism, a group of organism, population. Population, community. Community, ecosystem. Ecosystem, biosphere. Biosphere, planet, then planet, solar system, what? Galaxy, then galaxy, universe. Okay? So pag ako ay nasa face-to-face, nakas-drawing yan sa board. But dahil Zoom tayo, sige, I can see naman your answers in the chat box. All right, so we have the 7 levels of classification as of today, true or false. Okay. We have 7 levels of classification as of today, true or false. Siyempre, ang sagot niyo false. So pag nakita sa board exam, how many levels of classification do we have? Right now, we have how many? 8. 8. That's correct. I can see a lot of 8. Correct. How do you call element number 8? How do you call element number 8? Nag-isip? Sige lang. How do you call element number 8? That is, sorry, parang hindi ata na yung tanong ko. Sorry. Element, I'm talking about periodic table. I'm talking about periodic table. I'm not talking about taxonomical classification. Element number 8 tinatanong dito, that is of course oxygen. Diba? With atomic mass of 16. So going back to the level of classification, of course, the highest will be domain. Sir, wala pong domain na nilagay si PRC. Ano palang gagawin mo? Siyempre, pipiliin mo si kingdom. Kingdom, si king, si King Philip, si kingdom. And then, of course, you have your phylum. Of course, we have a lot of phylum in the animal kingdom. Question, how many major animal phylum do we have? How many animal phylum, major animal phylum do you have? We have, okay, so we have 9, no? Tama ba? 9. So sige, tignan natin mamaya kung meron akong slide on the different, although we already discussed the different phylum. Okay, so ayan, we have biggest branches, animals, plants, fungi, protists, bacteria, and archaebacteria. By the way, sir, bakit bacteria? Minsan hindi eubacteria. Okay, pwedeng bacteria lang nilalagay lang nila, pwedeng eubacteria. So pag nakita sa board exam, bacteria has what kind of component in its cell wall? Alam niyo ang sasagot niyo. That means yung bacteria na tinutukoy dito is the domain bacteria, but specifically the kingdom eubacteria. So pareho lang yan, bacteria or eubacteria. So ano na nga ulit? Yung cell wall component ng bacteria, nawala ang archaebacteria. Starts with letter P. Starts with letter P, that is correct. Peptidoglycan. Okay, so next, by the way, si species, described by unique name, combination of genus and Spanish, species, in italics, like for example, Homo sapiens. Pero pag ganito, hindi na dapat pag na italic, pag sulat kamay, ina-underline nila homo, then underline species. We do not underline it in a straight line. Baka itanong, no, yung technicality of writing it manually, right? Genus, capital H, or capital letter of the first letter of the genus, then underline. And then space, write the species, then underline it. Okay? So that's it. There are main foods rich in carbohydrates that provide energy for man. But this is not an example of this food. Bread, A, bread, B, meat, C, rice, D, cereal. Okay. Okay, I can see a lot of B's. That's correct. That's correct, no? Ano ang meat then? Therefore, rich in what? Meat, therefore, is rich in? Yes, that's correct. It's rich in protein. Ito basic question to, no? Paulit-ulit na tinatanong ito. Pare-pareho pa rin ang options. Okay? So tatandaan, it's the meat that is not an example. Ang mahilig sa bio-majorship, but this is not an example. But this is an exemption. But this is not included. Parang ganon. So usually ganyan sa biology majorship kasi sa dami ng pwedeng distractors, no? So pwede nilang gawin yan. Alright, so bread, rice, and cereals are actually under carbohydrates, which actually fuel or give us energy. Okay, so that is the question. So we have macronutrients, right? So you have your macromolecules, and how many macromolecules do we have? We have actually 4, right? And part of these macronutrients, ini-include din natin yung inorganic compound, which is water. Okay, so kasama dito dapat yung nucleic acid. So we also have micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. And of course, what we aim is of course a balance of good health. Okay. Now questions. What are the 4 vitamins which are fat soluble? What are the 4 vitamins which are fat soluble? C, ADEC. That's correct. ADEC are fat soluble. The rest are water soluble. Sige, drill tayo. Vitamin A is also known as GLAM. Vitamin A is also known as GLAM. Retinol. Vitamin D is also known as GLAM. Vitamin D is also known as GLAM. Calci, what? Calci what? Calciferol. Retinol A, letter D, calciferol. E, how about E? You remember? Tocopherol. Letter E, tocopherol. Myra, rich in tocopherol, diba? How about letter K? That is phytoquinone, or your anti-hemorrhage vitamin. Sino laging kasama ni vitamin K in terms of anti-hemorrhage or anti-hemorrhagic vitamin? Okay. Hindi, wala na kasi akong hinanda na bio nung ano nyo, like, so wala kasi yung NatSci 2 eh. That's the Gen Bio. So I used to teach Gen Bio na nailipat na sa senior high. Alright, so ano na yung kasama lagi ni vitamin K? Anong yon? Anong element, mineral? Vitamin K and sino kasama niya in terms of the blood clotting? We're talking about blood clotting. O, nakalimutan na ba? Letter C, it starts with letter C. That's correct, no? We call it as the calcium. Alright? Ano pang pwedeng itanong dito? Ayan, so major protein source, no? You can see meat, fish, and alternatives. And then we have foods containing fat, no? Milk and dairy food, no? Major source of minerals and vitamins A and D and some proteins. And then we also have the bread and other cereals and potatoes for the major source of carbohydrates. Okay. So how do we call, so we're talking about vitamins naman. How do we call the deficient, or what deficiency, or for example, sige, magbibigyan akong deficiency, sabihin niya sa akin anong vitamin ang kulang. Okay. What vitamin is lacking when a person has rickets? When a person has rickets. So that is vitamin D. How about when a person has scurvy? When a person has scurvy, so that's letter C. Okay. How about when a person has night blindness? Okay. So that is vitamin A. Kaya kailangan nating kumain ng mga rich in vitamin A to avoid such deficiency. Okay, sige. Next. So we have Pinggang Pinoy, no? So it's actually no a part of the FNRIDOST project. Sige, meron pa kasi akong tanong about beriberi. Sige, mamaya itatanong ko yan. Kunyari hindi ko muna alam. Alright, the development of Pinggang Pinoy for specific population groups was spearheaded by FNRI in 2015. It was launched at the 61st NLEPT Convention 2016. So basically, ang tinitingnan dito, it's actually yung pinggan na dapat for kids 3 to 12 years old, sa teens, sa adults, sa elderly, and sa pregnant and lactating women or mothers. So these are actually specific Pinggang Pinoy for specific population group. Baka matanong sa board exam, since this talks about healthy lifestyle, ano yung naging program ng FNRIDOST? We call it Pinggang Pinoy. At hinahati, literal, hindi naman siya literal hati yung pinggan, kundi lalagyan mo ng proportion. Ginawa namin to parang 4 days in one of the convention I attended in UP Las Baños. Kaya lang, yung mga hindi sanay sa ganong proportion of food, nagutom. So, pupunta pa rin sila sa convenience stores to eat. So, ganon. Yes, meron po ito sa grade 3 MAPE. Yes. So, baka lang matanong, no? We never know. Baka lang matanong. So, you can see the term go, grow, and glow. Sige nga, balikan natin ang elementary. Sasabihin niyo sa akin kung go, grow, and glow. Okay, carbohydrate. Go, grow, and glow. Okay, that is go. That's correct. Protein. 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 That's correct. That is grow food. So again, go food, carbohydrate, grow food. Why go food is carbohydrate? Because it is actually a major source of energy. Grow, why is it? Why protein is grow food? It actually helps for repair of cells and tissue. How about vitamins and mineral? Yes, Maso. How about vitamins and mineral? That is your glow food. So vitamins and mineral are actually your glow food. So ayan tatandaan nyo yan. Alright. Yeah. Next, among the following, which is considered prokaryotic organism, which lack a true nucleus in their cells. A, animals. B, bacteria. C, fungi. D, protists. Okay. That's correct. Okay. Okay, that is letter B, no, bacteria. So pag nakita sa board exam, prokaryote na walang true nucleus, that is bacteria. Okay, these are bacteria. Again, sa 5 kingdom classification, nasa under what kingdom ang bacteria? Sa 5 kingdom classification. Letter M. That is Monera. That's correct. So pag nakita sa board exam, Monerans, we're talking about bacteria. How do we singularize bacteria? How do we singularize bacteria? Gen and English, di ba? So we call it bacterium. That's correct, bacterium, right? How do we call the singular form of stomata? How do we call the singular form of stomata? We call it stoma. So alam niyo yan, no, bilang mga bio majors. All right. How do we call the singular form of fungi? Sige nga, tingnan. I'm trying to test your knowledge in English. So fungus, how about, sige, this is quite challenging. How about algae? What is the singular form for algae? Sana all the bio major. Oh, algal pa. Sure na kayo dyan. So tatanggalin yung L, di ba? Alga. This is alga. No, alga, algae. Alumna, alumni, alumni. Alumna, babae, lalaki. Alumna, babae, lalaki. Nga, tingnan nga natin. Ay, iba-iba. Boy, basher kayo, alumna. Actually, it's babae, alumna, lalaki, alumnus. Alright, so I'm an alumnus of President Ramon Magsaysay State University. You are, for example, an alumna. Okay, yun, naiba na daw. But overall, we call it alumni. Alright, so that's it, no? Question. We're talking about your phylum pa rin, no? How about the other name for kingdom protista? Pag wala kayong makitang protista, ano yung ibang pangalan na nakikita natin sa board exam? Kingdom? Protozoa, pwede protozoa. Or, narinig nyo na ba ang kingdom Protoctista? Narinig nyo na ba yun? Nabasa nyo na ba? Di ba? O sige, pag nakita nyo, walang protista, pero sinasabi na ng kingdom meron sa algae, under sa algae, sa protozoa, yan, protoctista or kingdom protista. O, sabi ng iba, yes. Kala ko typo. Yeah, inaano yan, older version. Okay, but I don't think, ginagamit pa rin ngayon. So, magkatunog naman. Alright, yeah. So, these are some of the bacteria. We have the Escherichia, coli, or coli, Mycobacterium tuberculosis for your TB. Ayan. So, ano pa, mga kilala niya dyan. We also have Pseudomonas aeruginosa, but of course, pag biomajor ang titingin nito, of course, these are erroneous way of writing them because they do not follow the standard system. Okay? Next. Alright. So, sino na nga ulit yung nag-coin ng term na cell? Sino na nga ulit yung nag-coin ng term na cell? Okay, that is Robert Hooke. He coined actually the term cell. Very good. Sino naman ang nag-coin ng term na animalcules? Sino naman ang nag-coin ng term na animalcules? That is Leeuwenhoek or Leeuwenhoek. That's correct. Sino naman ang nag-coin ng term na virus? Lumabas ito sa board exam last year. Sino naman ang nag-coin ng term na virus? At diniscuss ko to last review natin. Bajery. That's correct, no? Ayan, sagot ni Hazel dyan. That's correct. Martinus Bajery. Okay, ha? Tatandaan. The tobacco mosaic virus, no? Diba? Ano yung sabi niya? Contagium flavium. Something like that. But it's more of like the virus. And virus literally means blank. Baka itanong ulit kasi tinanong din to sa board exam. Parang, if I'm not mistaken, 2 seasons ago, we call it poison. Okay, tatandaan. Okay, sino naman ang nag-coin ng term na nucleus? Sa cell. Okay, sino nag-coin ng term na nucleus sa cell? O, syempre, nandiyan na sa slide naman natin, Robert Brown. Alright, so basically, Robert Brown actually coined the term nucleus. And what's the nucleus? It is actually where the primary DNA are found. Okay, so observe and coin the term nucleus in 1830. Ano pang tinatanong mo for cell? O, sige. Cell. Cell biology, of course, the study of cell, or tinatawag din siyang cytology. Some call it the part of it is, of course, molecular biology. Alright, sige. So, bacteria, no? So, in 1676, may gestation, okay. Di ko sinagot si Leeuwenhoek kasi hindi ko alam siya. Nasa slide pala. So, Anton van Leeuwenhoek first observed bacteria through a microscope, alam niyo na yan, and the German natural physician Gottfried Ehrenberg called them bacteria from the Greek, bacteria meaning little stick. Okay, so pag nakita sa board exam, kung hindi virus ang ano nila, bacteria literally means little stick. No? So kasi di ba yung ibang bacteria, very ano lang siya, di ba, rod shape, and then may buntot na flagellum. So ayun, parang siyang stick. No? So kung tatanungin, sino nag-coin ng term na yon or nagtawag ng term na yon, that is Ehrenberg. Okay, Christian Gottfried Ehrenberg. Okay, so minsan kasi si PRC, meron siguro sa 150 questions sa board exam, may 3 or 4 na tawag dito, may 3 o 4 na mga pangalan. Natatawa ko one time, parang September 2021, sabi ng mga estudyante ko sa bio, "Sir, lumabas si Mendel 3 beses. Anong tanong? Pare-pareho, sir. Father of genetics." We call it mga pamigay na tanong. Sana all, di ba? O, di ba? 4 weeks na di ko pa kasi busada na yung advisor. O yan, class ko, yan pa kaya? Okay. Ano ba ang name ng advisory class mo? Yung section ba is that what you mean? Oo. Ano ba? Wait lang. Go lang. Aking thought box. Baka ano siya, pangalan din ng scientist. Nalimot niya na. Kaya hindi niya natandaan. Alright, sige lang. Okay. These are some important discovery, no? Saint Josephina. Yung mga pangalan ng mga estudyante sa bagay. Hindi, gawin natin mga friends natin ito. Pero dahil malapit-lapit na, pag nakita nyo, at least matatandaan. So we also have some bacteria. We have Hansen, yung leprosy, bacillus, yung nagkakos ng leprosy. Ano yung leprosy na sa Tagalog? Sa Tagalog, how do you call it na? Yung may mga ano-ano sa skin, tapos parang iniiwasan kasi it can be contagious. Wait lang, nasa bilang tila ko. Yeah, keto. That's correct. No? So, saan daw sa Philippines yung meron naka-isolate na island for those leprosy? Sa may ano, no? Palawan, di ba? May mga ganon. We also have Nacer, Gonococcus, no? Auguston, Staphylococcus. We also have Loeffler, Diphtheria bacillus, Roxaniers, and Diphtheria toxin. Just lang, skim lang natin. Pero tatandaan niyo to, yan. Si virus, Majorship, no? In 1898, okay? Kailan ulit ang kalayaan ng Pilipinas? Maidugtong lang natin ang 1898. When is the Philippine independence declared? Specifically, June 12, 1890. Okay, that's correct. Okay. So yun, no, for filter infectious agents, we also pasture developed the rabies vaccine. Okay, cultivation of viruses and chicken embryos. Charles Chamberlain, one of Pasteur associates, constructed person bacterial filter, bacteriophages, Tort and Diriel, Harrell, and Edward Jenner vaccination. Ito, Edward Jenner, no, pakitandaan. Lagi din to. No? Kung hindi man sa GenEd, sa Majorship, vaccination for smallpox. Edward Jenner. Okay? Yan. Ito rin, tinanong, nung time ko, tinanong to, nung nag-board exam ako, tinanong to. And then parang 2 years after my board exam, tinanong ulit ito. Okay? Kasi tinitigman ko yung mga, usually yung mga father na lumalabas. Kaya hindi ko nakakalimutan si Alfred Russel Wallace. Okay? So he's the father of biogeography. Kung sinabi natin biogeography, ito yung pag-aaral kung saan tinitignan kung saan usually nakalocate ang isang organism. For example, in the Philippines, okay, let's study biogeography. Where can we typically find tarsiers? Sige nga, baka sagot. Yes, it's in Bohol. So may question dito, di ba kasama yan ni Charles Darwin? Yes. So nag-aaral kasi isa rin siyang naturalist, explorer, geographer, anthropologist. Okay, that's correct, Bohol. Saan naman matatagpuan ang Tamaraw? If tarsiers to Bohol, where is Tamaraw? Baka may mga tanong na ganito kasi bayo din naman to, no? Alright, the Tamaraw is in Mindoro. O sige, ano na nga ulit yung scientific name ng Tamaraw? Tama, no? Tama ba? Bubalus mendurensis? Yes. Bubalus. Tapos yung Carabao natin, Bubalus bubalis. Tama ba? Okay, tama, no? Okay. Bubalus mendurensis is your Tamaraw. Bubalus bubalis is your Carabao, which is considered, I'm not sure ha, I'm not going to say it's the national animal, parang wala pang basis. Okay, so yon. Okay, dahil we're talking about scientific name, by the way, no, very basic ang bubalis. We're talking about scientific name. How about the milkfish or bangus? Ano na nga yung scientific name? Very easy. Diba? Ng bangus. Milkfish. Ano na nga? Nakalimutan nyo na. Letter C. Sisig. Yes, diba? Chanos. Yes, that's correct. Orskal ang nagsulat or nagpangalan ito. So, Chanos. How about chicken? The domestic chicken. We call it GD. Gallus domesticus. Kaya usually, diba, lagi ninyo naririnig yung domesticus. No? Gallus domesticus or Gallus domesticus. Alright, sige. So yan, ano pa ba? O kapag tinanong din sa board exam, may metabolism ba yung virus? Wala. So basically, magkakaroon lang siya metabolic activities kapag kapag naka-attach na siya sa isang living host. Alright? So ayan. What is the virus of the COVID-19? How do you call the virus of the COVID-19? Okay, we call it, yes, coronavirus. Okay, so this is part of the coronavirus family. Alright, sige. Bago naging COVID-19, ano na nga ba yung pangalan nitong ano natin? Nare-recall nyo pa ba? Hindi siya COVID-19 pa nun eh. Hindi. Hindi. Wala pa siya. Yes, the novel coronavirus, 'di ba? Novel pa siya kasi bago. Pag sinabing novel, bago, parang hindi pa masyadong naaral. So tinawag siyang novel NCOV, that's correct. The novel coronavirus. And eventually, sabi ni World Health Organization, we have to name it COVID-19. Bakit COVID-19? Bakit 19? Okay, bakit 19? Yes, because of the year 2019. Although, sa atin sa Philippines, kailan na-declare the first day of the declaration of Luzon-wide enhanced community quarantine? Sure ba kayo dyan? So March 15. March 16. It's actually March 16 kasi kinabukasan, holiday sa Zambales. March 16, 2020. Bakit holiday sa Zambales ng March 17? Why is it holiday ng March 17? Because of Ramon Magsaysay. This is the day, okay, that Ramon Magsaysay died because of plane crash. Okay, March 17, 1957. Question, anong pangalan ng kanyang sinasakyang aircraft? Bago ko tatanungin yung tanong ni Ace. Anong pangalan? Ang pangalan ng sinasakyan niya ay Mount Pinatubo. Okay, because Mount Pinatubo is of course found in Zambales. Saan? Sa Manunggal. Hindi Manananggal, Manunggal, Cebu. Mount Manunggal in Cebu. Okay, so dapat alam niyan kasi Ramon yan kayo. Okay, next. So next, according to level of the classification of living things, what next or lower smaller grouping comprises a kingdom? A phyla, B order, C species, D class. Of course, that's very basic, no? Kingdom and then, yes, King Philip, no? Phyla. Phyla is the plural, phylum is the singular. Genus is the singular, genera is the plural. Okay, ano pa ba yung mga ano doon? Family, ganun pa rin naman. Order, ganun pa rin. Okay? So next. So these are some of the phylum, no? In the kingdom Plantae, ang lagi nila lumalabas halos is the bryophyte, which is non-vascular, mga mosses yan. Okay? We also have the flowering plants, Magnoliophyta, kaya Magnolidae is a flowering plant. So pag nakita sa Gen Ed Science, pwede rin tanungin naman sa majorship nyo, which of the following is a flowering plant, Magnolidae. No? So the family Magnolidae. So we have two classes no, under Magnoliophyta. We have the Magnoliopsida, dicotyledon, Liliopsida, monocotyledon. Okay, so na-discuss na rin natin in the earlier part of our review the difference between the dicot and the mono. Wala akong mnemonic sa plant phylum kasi hindi din naman siya masyadong hindi siya masyadong very detailed naman sa board exam. Pero tatandaan niyo lang diyan yung bryophyta, yung mga mosses, and also yan sa Magnoliophyta, no, Magnolia, Magnolidae, flowering. Then Magnoliopsida, then Liliopsida for the dicot and mono. Okay? And then of course, alam niyo naman, tinanong rin natin last time, Theophrastus, no, the father of botany, the study of plants is of course botany. Okay? Question, ano ba yung tinatanong sa plants? Of course, the morphology, kung anatomy for the animals, morphology ang sa plants, no? Usually for structure. Then for the phylum, we call it usually division. Okay? So yan. Next, under the six kingdom system of the living world, how are multicellular forms with specialized eukaryotic cells an ability to locomote, like sponges, worms, insects, be classified. A, fungi, B, plantae, C, animalia, D, protista. O, di ba? Siyempre, di ba, ability to locomote, meaning to move, no, to mobilize, okay, that is animalia. Sige nga, pakilagay nga sa chat box. This is a characteristics of animals which describes their ability to move. Apart from movement. Sige. Apart from movement. Marjorie is running. Okay, that is motility. Correct. No? So, motility. So, ayan. Yes, mobility, pagiging mobile, pagiging ano rin natin, yes. Usually there are two types of locomotion. Tama ba ako? Pwede kasing dalawa no, sa locomotion ng animals. Pwedeng locomotoric siya, gumagalaw, or hindi gumagalaw. Ano yung tawag natin sa hindi gumagalaw? If locomotoric is gumagalaw. Hindi locomotor. Okay, or non-motile, pwede naman. Or letter S. Ano na yon? Sagot natin sa chat box. Ano na yon? Stagnant, or we call it sessile. Remember nyo, sessile is stationary, yeah. But sessile is the word. So, nandun lang siya. Tulad ng mga plants. Example ng animals na sessile. Can you give me one phylum na sessile? Usually, sessile lang talaga sila. We call it the phylum Porifera. Now, phylum Porifera or the sponges are actually sessile animals. Alright? Okay, so what else? Ano pa? Worms, syempre, alam nyo na yan. There are three types of major worms in the animal kingdom. We have the roundworms, nematoda, flatworms, platyhelminthes, and annelida segmented worms. Very good. Insect. Okay. Among all kinds of animals on Earth, which is the largest in number? Which is the largest in number? Among animals. So, meaning, we have to be very specific. Among all the, di ba? Parang may tanong dito. Ano na nga ba yung trematoda? Okay. Actually, for trematoda, parang specific classes na yan eh. Oo. Check natin yung trematoda. Parang, if I'm not mistaken, under pa rin yan ng nematoda. Tama ba? Check natin. So, trematoda, ayan. Ano naman siya pala? Within the platyhelminthes pala. So, trematoda, yan, tama-tama. Mga liver fluke. Oo, correct. So, trematoda, pag nakita sa board exam, platyhelminthes. Example is the liver fluke. Okay? So, thank you for asking, no? Yes, oo. Ano pa yung tanong? Insect food. Ano na? Paano yung, okay. Locomotor at di locomotor. Okay, sige. Ano pa ba sa insect? Yun lang naman. Insect the right answer, which is of course belonging to the phylum Arthropoda. Next, kingdom Animalia characteristics. All animals share the following characteristics: eukaryotic, multicellular, reproduce sexually, heterotrophic, then motile, diba? Motility, at least for part of their life. No? Meron kasing naka-ano lang siya, diba? May mga animals na naka-ano lang, balot lang, no? Nandyan lang, no? Pwedeng sisil lang sila. Ano na nga ba yung tawag doon sa ano nga inaano ko? How do you call the molting of animals? Letter E. Natandaan nyo ba? Sinabi ko last time, letter E. How do you call it? Check natin. Okay, that's correct. No, natatandaan nyo. Ecdysis. That's correct. No, natanong na rin yan na natatandaan. Molting. Alright? So we have the different embryonic development, no? The process that goes from the formation of the zygote to the birth of a new individual. Depending on whether it takes place, animals are classified as viviparous, no? Dolphin inside her mom's womb. In viviparous animals, the embryo develops inside the female body. Okay? That is viviparous. Question, viviparous ba ang humans? Female humans, I mean. Viviparous ba? Yes or no? Of course, no? Viviparous animal. Okay? While oviparous is an animal, fish, bird, etc. This is oviparous produces eggs that develop outside its body. So oviparous. Okay? Let me just get this call. Just siguro 30 seconds. All right. Guys, wait lang ha. Last 1 minute. So ayan, naputol ako. So ay yung mga dalawa kasi klase ng fish ko dito. Naglilay ng egg tapos live bearer. Ayan. Alright, sige. Sorry for that. But anyway, yeah, oviparous. You have your chicken in there. Then ovoviviparous. Ovoviviparous are animals that are bred about inside an egg, which remains inside the female's body. Yeah, like for example, eggs inside a shark. Okay? So pag nakita naman sa board exam, ano daw animal yung usually walang hard shell for protection? Anong animal na may egg yun yung usually walang hard shell for protection? Okay, can you put it in the chat box? Narinig niyo na ba ako? Type 1 nga kung oo. Yes, thank you ah. Medyo ano ako dun ah, ang dami kong gagawin. Pero sige, mamaya ako na gagawin. Yes, that's the frog, di ba? Very ano lang siya, very soft. It doesn't have a protected hard shell, but it can these eggs can actually fry. Yan. So the process of photosynthesis occurs not only in plants but also in one of the following: A. archaea, B. viruses, C. green fungi, D. algae. Ano sagot? Aha. Okay, para nakatulog na kayo. Ganyan natin yung participants natin. Okay, so andito pa naman ang ating mga participants. Baka delay lang ako. Sige. So that is letter yes. No? So actually, eme lang yung ano dyan, but it's actually algae. No? So algae actually also photosynthesize. So not archaea viruses, green fungi. It's actually algae. The green algae, no, of course, the green algae. Yeah, the green algae are part of our plant-like proteins, no, kingdom protista. No, so photosynthesis needs, no, the presence of light. So we make use of light, no, as the energy, no, which is a requirement in order for this process to proceed, no. And photosynthesis, as you know, is an example of anabolism. Chemosynthesis occurs naman in total darkness on the seafloor, therefore does not use light, instead the chemical, no, present, no, in the environment. Okay. Next, so we have here a matrix, no, comparing bacteria versus archaea. So for bacteria, no, with peptidoglycan, so these are actually the eubacteria, and archaea is without peptidoglycan. So for the nutrition, autotrophs, no, photosynthesis, no, heterotrophs, and predation. No? Kaya kung makita ninyo kanina, yung mga archaea natin, they're actually heterotrophs and do not photosynthesize. Okay? But eubacteria does or do. Okay? So habitat mostly mesophiles and some extremophiles. No? So usually ito yung mga sa mga extreme environment. The reproduction both are binary fission and survival tactics, conjugation, and for the bacteria and the spores. Okay, so some shape, cocci, bacilli, and spirili, no? Spherical rod and spiral shape. Okay, so next. So among organism which is capable of regeneration when cut into parts: A. yeast, B. mold, C. bacteria, D. sea star. Of course, very basic question yan. No? Letter D is the answer. C is star. Okay? So, ayan. Di ba? Napakadadali ng mga question. Actually, I got this question from previous boards. No? So, this is how they, di ba, how they constructed, no, questions. These are actually actual board exam questions in Majorship. Okay? So, ayan. So, animals. So, we have here what they regenerate, no, flatworm, and sea star, no, and vertebrata. Any part of their bodies, including their heads, no, platyhelminthes. Sea star is, if flatworm is platyhelminthes, sea star is under letter phylum, letter E. Ano nga yan? Sea stars. Kasama dyan yung mga sea urchins, di ba? Tama ba? Echinodermata. Alright? Limbs and even their whole bodies, no? If their central nerve ring is intact, no? So, ang vertebrata naman ito, axolotl, limbs and spine. Frog, tadpoles can regenerate limbs but lose the ability in adulthood. And even adult human regeneration largely limited to skin, no, and liver cells. Okay, so that is for regeneration for axolotl, frog, and human. Okay, so what else? Ano pa ba yung naaano natin for regeneration, for sea star? For budding naman, pag nakita ang budding, it's usually you can see the word outgrowth. For body, usually for outgrowth. Can you give me an example of organisms that undergo budding? Oh yeah, asexual outgrowth, that's correct. Ayan, corals is an example. Hydra is an example. Okay, corals, under what phylum ng corals? Corals belong to phylum, what again? Letter C. Phylum Cnidaria, that's correct. How about Hydra? Some phylum ang Hydra. Ano na ang phylum ng Hydra? Hydra is also bahagi, no? If I'm not mistaken, pareho sila, no, under Cnidaria. Okay? So So next. So we have fertilization. No, fertilization is the union of an ovum and a spermatozoa. Love niyo yan. So we have to form the zygote and the fertilizing. So some do external, while some do internal. So it's the union of gametes which occurs outside the female's body, external, or we call it extra cellular fertilization. So aquatic animals, amphibians, some insects. No, male fish wait to spread sperm over the eggs, then female fish lay eggs. No. So while internal is the fusion of gametes or sex cell, which occurs inside the body of the female or hermaphrodite. It's typically most of the terrestrial animals and some fishes. So female reproductive organs or then reproductive organs, ovule and sperm, and then it will actually unite and become a zygote. Okay. How about an organism as a natural environment where it lives and thrives? This is called its habitat, country, migration pattern, culture, medium. How do you call that? Correct. No, that is habitat. How about the niche or the role of organism? Okay, okay lang yan, no? Sometimes, no, parang ang gaganda ng options, but we don't have to overthink. You just go to the very basic, no? Pag, so you just go to habit. How about the role? How do you call it? The role of an organism that is niche or ecological. Okay? How do you call the two types of migration? How do you call the two types of migration? I&E, that's correct. Emig and emig. Okay, emig, emig, and emig. Question. Where or what laboratory apparatus do you use for culture medium? What laboratory apparatus do you usually use for culture medium? You use yeah, that's correct, your Petri dish. Okay, next. So two types of niches. Now I mentioned about niches, the role of organism. We have the fundamental niche and the realized niche. So the fundamental niche, pag nakita sa board exam, the set of resources a population is theoretically capable of using under ideal condition. Okay. So realized niche is the resources a population actually uses. Okay, thus two species cannot coexist in a community if their niches are identical. So no two species occupy the same niche. Tatandaan niyo na, pag tinanong what is true about niche, no two species, okay, no two species occupy the same niche. Okay, sir, paano for example, sa isang puno ng mangga, merong tatlong species ng ibon. Eh pare-pareho silang mangga ang source of food. And sabi mo, no two species occupy the same niche. Doon sa puno ng mangga na yon, hahati-hatiin pa yon. Merong species na mag-feed on the upper tree, may sa lower tree, and then may sa middle tree. So therefore, yung kanilang mga niches will not be the same. Okay, that's the principle of ecological niche. All right, so yun. Next. In the human life cycle, what process maintains chromosome number once a spermatozoa unites with an ovum during fertilization? Oogenesis, mitosis, meiosis, or spermatogenesis? A, B, C, or D? Okay, anong process yon? Okay. Okay, di ba remember, meron tayong for cell division ng body cells, then cell division for sex chromosomes, no? Ano na nga ulit kapag body cells, anong process? Okay, mitosis, no? Kapag sex cells, okay, sex cells, meiosis. So therefore, pipiliin natin yung letter C. Bakit letter C? Kasi umbrella term na yan. Hindi ka pwede mag-A and B kasi ano to no? Subtype ito. So we are looking for the general process. So we call it the meiosis. And we maintain that because if meron na tayong zygote, no? Which is the product of our fertilization, it actually has 46 chromosomes. We maintain the number. Pero pag tinanong kayo, ilan ang chromosomes sa egg cell or ovum? 23. 22 nito, body or autosomes, yung isa, sex chromosome. Tama? Yung sperm, ganun din, 22 body. Okay? Tapos yung isa, okay, yung isa, Okay, sex chromosome. Alright, so pag young egg and sperm na yan, na-fertilize, we do have the fertilized egg. Okay, sabi ni, ano dito, sabi ni Ace, may mayonnaise, meiosis. Okay, isipin niyo daw yung mayonnaise. Okay, bakit kaya? Alright, anyway, so yon. And then, I'm not going to elaborate. Then embryo, of course, you have 46 chromosomes in 23 pairs. Okay, gawa daw sa egg. Alright, sige. Kaya 'di ba nakakatuwa, 'pag sinasabihan, "Oh, may itlog ka ba?" Oh, 'di ba? Sabi sa lalaki, "Oh, may itlog ka ba?" So typically, no, so the egg is actually for the ano, for the female, no. Although sperm naman, no, we sperm, yeah. Okay. So yeah, for the ano ba, kaguluhan pa ko na daw si si Rose. Sige, next. So difference between mitosis and meiosis, now you can see that mitosis, now a process of cell duplication or reproduction during which one cell gives rise to two genetically identical daughter cells. Strictly applied, now the term mitosis used to describe the duplication distribution of the chromosome. So we have here the two diploid cells, no? And then here, for the meiosis, no, type of cell division that reduces the chromosome number by half, creating 4 haploid cells. So again, 2 diploid cells for mitosis, then 4 daughter or four daughter haploid cells, no, for meiosis. So each genetically distinct from the parent cell that gave rise to them. So that is for the mitosis and meiosis. Okay, next question. What organism is capable of making its own food by producing complex organic compound from simple substance using light or chemical energy? Parasite, commensal, autotroph, heterotroph. Okay, that's correct. Very good. So we call it as the autotroph. And the one that feeds on these autotroph are called heterotroph. And for the parasite, it's actually one organism involved in parasitism, while the commensal is involved in the commensalism. Okay? So, these already auto means self-trophos means food. No? So use simple inorganic substances and either light energy or chemical energy to synthesize food. Okay? And then we also have here obtain energy through intake and digestion and organic substances like that would result to animal or plant tissue. Ano sabi niya? Wait lang. Hirap mag-browse ng chat box. Sir, may pangatlo pa. Tsaka yung isa nalimot ko na. Saprotroph, meron din. Yes, saprotroph. Yes, yung mga decaying necrotic matter. Yes, ayan. Sapro. Okay, tinatawag din siyang saprobes or saprophytes. Tulad ng mga fungi and other bacteria. Okay? So, yan. Next, in the case of babies born through in vitro fertilization or IVF, how are IVF babies commonly referred? A, blue babies. B, rockabye babies. C, baby boomers. D, test tube babies. Ayan. Alam niyo yan. So that is letter D, test tube baby. No? Several times na rin natanong sa board exam. So alam niyo yan, test tube, no? Test tube baby undergoes what? In vitro fertilization. Pag inside the body, ano naman? Because this is outside, in vitro is outside the body. Pag inside the body, we call it in vivo fertilization. A baby boomer, usually this is on age generation, no? Okay, parang ang baby boomer parang yung mga ano na to, no, before the Gen X and Gen Y, tama ba? Kasi ngayon millennial, tapos ng mga bagong generation ngayon is the Gen Z, okay, mga generation Z na ngayon, yung mga tinuturuan nyo hindi na Gen Z siguro yan, baka alpha generation na. Kasi some of you are already part of the Gen Z. Okay? So IVF, you know this very well, no? Literally means fertilization in glass, giving us a familiar term, test tube baby. So during the IVF, eggs are removed from the ovaries and fertilized from the laboratory, and the fertilized egg is later placed in the woman's womb. Okay, tatandaan na, baka matanong, no? Babalik pa ba sa woman's womb? Yes. Okay? So doon siya mag-grow. No? Saan siya mag-grow? Anong part ng female reproductive system? Sa uterus, sa bahay bata. Alright, so next is in vivo fertilization. That is the natural way, no? And the living body happens in the oviduct Production through the female reproductive system and occurs within hours within copulation. So the successful sperm cell must enter the uterus and swim up the fallopian tube to meet the ovum cell, where it passes through the thick coating surrounding the egg. Okay? So that is on in vivo fertilization. Okay? A mango tree is planted beside the sampaguita plant in a garden. They demonstrate the following relationship: A, commensalism; B, mutualism; C, competition; D, predation. What's the answer? Of course, letter. Yes, I can see a lot of letter C. That is correct. Competition. There are two types of competition. If the same species, how do you call that type of competition? The same species. Ano na nga ulit yun? That is intra-specific competition. That's correct. Kapag two different species, ano na ulit yun? That is interspecific competition. Correct. All right. So I'd like to show you types of interaction and its effects. So mutualism, we have positive and positive. Both species benefit from interaction. How do you call the benefit again? In mutualism, OB, we call it obligatory benefit. All right. So commensalism, positive 0. The one is benefited while the other one is unharmed or unaffected. Example, remora and shark. Remora fish and shark. Okay. That is a very basic example. Neutralism, population do not affect one another, 0 to 0. So wala lang. They can live together, but no effect with one another. Commensalism, 0 negative. Usually, for example, 0 sa ating mga tao. Nagsunog tayo ng kaingin, 0 sa atin. Ay, nagsunog tayo ng bundok, 0 sa atin. Pero sa mga species nandun, negative yon. Unaffected sila. Okay? Wala, gusto na namin magsunog. No? So, these are called anthropogenic activities that we unconsciously are doing without thinking that we are affecting the habitat of these organisms. Okay? Predation, parasitism, positive, negative. One species benefit while the other is disadvantaged. Question: in predation, who is disadvantaged? How do you call the organism that is disadvantaged? Sige. Pag yun ang tanong, of course, that is prey. Kaya lagi siya nag-pray. Okay, sana po ay hindi po ako makain for today's video. Okay? So, parasitism naman, who is actually the one that is disadvantaged? Sino sa parasitism? Ang disadvantage, of course, that's the host, correct? It's the host. How do you call the female host? Janet English. Wait, ganun no? Tiningit ang Janet English. Sige. What's the female host? Hostess. That's correct, diba? Diba? O yung galing naman ng hostess. O we should use that, diba? In formal communication. Kasi ibig sabihin, babaeng host. Yes, diba? Diba? Competition, negative. No? Each species affected negatively. For example, lion and tiger compete with a very limited resource. So that could be a competition. Okay? Next, neutralism, two closely related species of aquatic birds like Palacrocorax sp found together in England in breeding season. See, feed on different kinds of fish, but there's no competition. Okay? So yeah. What else? Yeah, the flow of water in our planet as it undergoes a process of evaporation, condensation, precipitation, infiltration, runoff, and subsurface flow is called A, snow cycle. B, rain cycle. C, water cycle. D, hail cycle. What is that? Tinatawag din siyang water cycle or tinatawag din alin? Ano ulit? Other term for water cycle, we call it letter H, hydrologic cycle. Bahagi ito ng anong mga cycles natin. Bakit naging bio ito? Because this is part of bio-geochemical cycle. Remember? The bio-geochemical cycle. Alright. So that is water cycle na iba na naman. Alright. So there you go. So you know this very well. No? When I ask you, how do you call the evaporation that occurs in plants? How do you call that? That is transpiration. That's correct. Transpiration. Okay? How do you call naman kapag yung dahon nagkaroon ng excess water sa gilid? There is an excess water that is evident at the blade of the leaf. Okay, how do you call that particular phenomenon? We call it guttation. That's correct. Guttation. So of the following, which is not an example of a bio. A forest, B lake, C grassland, D desert. Ano? Okay, that is correct. Letter B, lake. Forest, tropical rainforest, deciduous forest, temperate forest, yan. Grassland, no? Other term for grassland, ano tinatawag pa natin? Other term natin sa grassland? Yes, savanna. Although sa savanna kasi, meron din siyang mga mas mababa konti, mga herbs, no? And shrubs. Okay? Pag forest, andyan na yung mga trees niya. So desert, of course, ano to, not always hot, no? And not always cold. So basically, pwede siyang very hot, pwede rin siyang very cold. And savanna is actually your largest hot desert, while your ano na yung yung tawag dito, yung Antarctica, that is cold desert. Okay? So dry, yes, that's correct. So an ecosystem, all the living and non-living factors that affect an organism, alam niyo na yan. While a biome is a major region that is characterized by climate, soil types, and the dominant plants and animals and other organisms that thrive in there. So biome is made up of many individual ecosystems. Okay, so many individual ecosystems of your biome, or which of course comprises your biosphere. So a group of land ecosystem with similar climates and organism. Okay, now how do you call the biome in oceans and seas? Okay. If biome is actually a group of land ecosystem, we call it as the marine. Yes, the marine ecosystem or the marine biome. Saline is the water, the kind of water which composes the oceans and seas. Question, how many oceans do we have? How many oceans do we have in the world? That, iba na naman ang sagot. 7 and 5, the correct answer is 5. How many continents? How many continents do we have in the world? We have 7. Sige, we go back to the oceans. Okay, can you name one of the oceans in the chat box so we will identify what are these 5 oceans? The Pacific, common na, walang iba, Indian, correct? Okay, may dalawa na tayo, Indian. What else? Okay. What else? Atlantic. Okay. Okay. Ano ba? Yun lang. Pacific. Sige nga. Pacific, Indian, Pacific, Indian, anong sinabi nyo? Atlantic. Okay. Arctic, and the last one is Southern Ocean. So the 5th one is Southern Ocean na tinatawag noong Antarctic Ocean. Okay? Pacific, Indian, Atlantic, Arctic, and Southern. And Southern is formerly known as the Antarctic Ocean. Okay? While the 7 continents, alam nyo na yan, di ba? And the biggest of the 7 continents is blank. The biggest of the 7 is, of course, Asia. Okay? So biomes are determined by their climate, no? Tatandaan, meaning their precipitation and the amount of temperature. And there are 6 major biomes in the world: the rainforest, desert, grassland, deciduous forest, boreal forest, and tundra. Question, among the 6, which is the coldest? Ano ang pinakamalamig? Okay? Of course, the answer is tundra. Among the 6, it is also known as the taiga. Among the, dalawa kasi yung T natin. Among the 6, okay, ano yung tinatawag ding taiga? Letter BF, no? So boreal forest. So boreal forest is also known as taiga. Okay, so what is the Philippine species known as Pithecophaga gifferi that was listed as an endangered species by the 1975 Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species? A Philippine tamaraw, Vivo Fertilization, Sipalahan peacock pheasant, Philippine monkey, eagle. Ito several times. Parang last board, meron ulit. Last year, meron na naman. Okay? Okay, mabenta ang Pithecophaga gifferi, that is Philippine monkey-eating eagle. In Filipino, how do we call it? It starts with letter B. The national bird. This is an official national bird. We call it banog. No? So pag nakita sa board exam, banog, that is Pithecophaga free. Scientific name, banog, Pithecophaga free, Philippine monkey-eating beetle. Okay, question, ano kinakain niya? Pilipinong ibon o haribon, kasi sinasabi nila haribon. Kinakain niya ang mga unggoy. So, ingat-ingat. No? Ingat-ingat. Alright, so next. Okay, so of course, this is the Philippine eagle. Alright. And of course, the Palawan peacock pisan, very, very beautiful. You can find it, of course, in Palawan. Siyempre, especially Puerto Princesa. When you go to Puerto Princesa City and you will look at the city logo, it's actually the peacock pisan, yung kanilang pinaka-logo. Okay, the virgin forest of Puerto Princesa. Okay, tinatanong din niya, no, anong klaseng forest ang unadulterated, no, hindi pa nagagalaw, no, mayaman pa ang climax community, ayan, virgin forest, no. So ang tanong, how do we call virgin forest in Filipino? Kagubatang lagyan natin sa chat box. Kagubatang beren or kagubatang basal. That's correct. I love it. No, may nakasagot din si Clarice. No, basal is virgin. Okay? So basal na kagubatan. All right? So next. Okay. Okay, then we have Bobalus meterensis, no, Philippine tamaraw. All right. So that's it. And of course, the Tarsius cyricta, Bohol tarsier. Okay? Tarsius cyricta. Yes, kaya nga dalawa yan, basal at basag. No? So pag basag, usually unadulterated na mga kagubatan na yon. Medyo, yun, napapabayaan na. So madalas ang deforestation. So, ayun. Alright. So that's Bohol tarsier. So, baka lang matanong, no? So this is actually the tawag dito, IUCN classification, no, for the categories ng conservation status. We call it conservation status or conservation status. Okay? So extinct and extinct in the wild, yan. So basically, wala na sa extinct, ito wala na sa wild. Nasa na sila? Kung wala sa wild, nasa na? Sige nga, yun ang tanong. Bakit sasagot nga sa chat box? Kung wala na sa wild, nasa na? Sana, syempre, nasa mga conservatory, conservation area, conservatory area. So we call them, anong tawag natin sa mga yun, yung nakakulong, but we have to conserve this. Nasa, may term tayo doon. Nasa dulo ng tila ko. Where we actually conserve, then i-replicate natin, hopefully yan. Basta yun. Basta yun, no? At least alam nyo na yan. Then threatened categories ito. Okay, critical endangered, malapit nang mawala. Endangered, ayan, nanganganib na talaga to. Then vulnerable, very sensitive siyang mawala na. So yung extinction rates, nasa very extinct and then less extinct. Okay, so yan. Then near threatened, medyo di pa gaano, extinct, then least concern, okay lang. Okay, andyan lang siya, huwag kayong mag-alala, parang gano'n. Data deficient, kulang, no? Kulang ng data whether anong conservation status niya. Then non-evaluated, ito yung mga animals na hindi pa na-evaluate anong conservation status. Tatandaan nyo to ha, at least alam nyo na, no, na meron tayo extinct the wild, critical endangered, vulnerable, ito medyo delikado. Then near threatened, least concern, quiet lang, okay lang tayo dyan. Then data deficient, wala pang data. Okay? So yun. Ayan pala, meron ako dito, the red list categories, no? So extinct, no reasonable doubt that the last individual has died. Example, can you give me an example in chat box? Ano mga extinct na mga animals na alam nyo? Okay. Siyempre, yung inyong mga wala na, di ba? Wala na yung mga dinosaurs, extinct na yan. Rhino, white rhino, ayan. Okay? The extinct in the wild known only to survive in captivity. Ayun, captivity. Nasa ano siya? Captivity area. Yun. Nasa conservation area, captivity is the word. Ngayon, pwede siyang paramihin. Okay? Cultivation or well outside its natural range. Critically endangered facing extremely high risk of extinction in the wild. Well endangered facing very high risk of extinction in the wild. Vulnerable facing high risk of extinction in the wild. And close to qualifying or likely to qualify for a threatened category. For the near threatened. Least concern, ayun, sabi ko nga, stable lang siya, enough is unlikely to face extinction. Okay, chill lang yan. Then data with not enough information. on the distribution to estimate its risk of extinction. Okay? So yeah, baka lang matanong. Okay? And then for the Philippine 1,000 peso bill, no, nandyan yung ating Tobataha Reefs Natural Park. May isang question dyan doon sa GenEd. Anong famous Philippine site ang meron sa Philippine 1,000 peso? O dapat alam nyo. The Tobataha Reefs Natural Parks. The Reefs with S. Okay? So natanong na yan sa board exam. I think GenEd. Okay? GenEd Science. Okay? And then, anong meron dito? The South Sea Pearl Pintada Maxima. So we call it the Tinala or Ikat, dyed abaca woven in Mindanao. So ano yung dyed ay Tinala or Ikat, yan yung ginamit dito sa woven, yan yung design. But of course, the species ang ating concern dito, that is South Sea Pearl Pintada Maxima. Inaalala ko yung the largest pearl in the Philippines. Ano na nga ba yun? Natatandaan nyo ba? The largest pearl found in the Philippines. Ano yung pangalan nun? The Pearl of Allah. No, ano na nga yung other term natin yan? Yung scientific scientific term doon. Meron ba tayong ginamit na scientific sa Pearl of Allah? Iisipin ko yan. Okay, but that's Pearl of Allah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Tridac na gigas. No? So the Tridac na gigas, no? For Pearl of Allah. Correct. Thank you so much. Then for 500 peso bill, no? Andyan yung Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park, which is one of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Okay? So ano yung animal na nandyan? Ayan. Yan yung blue-naped parrot. We call it Tanignathus lucionensis. Okay? Tanignathus lucionensis. Okay? Pisum sativum yan yung ginamit ni Gregor Mendel, no, in his experiment for heredity. Pisum sativum. Question. Ano naman, nawala ako. Ano naman ang smallest fish in the world found in the Philippines? Sige nga, sulat nyo nga. Ilagay ko rin sa chat. Wow, ang gagaling nila. Yes, that's correct, no? Ayan, Pandaka pygmea. Diba, may kaalpihan ng aking spelling. So ayan, Pandaka pygmea. So ano siya sa Filipino? Seryoso ba kayo na yan yon sa Filipino? No, it's not. It's not, ang tawag yung sinilagay nyo? Dilis. Dilis ba yon? Alam mo? Letter S. Sina? Sina? Tinarapan, di ba? Sinalo. Or letter T, tabios. Di ba? Natatandaan nyo? Sinarapan or tabios. Pandaka pygmea. Sinandoming iba yun. Ano yun? Bigas. Alright, sige, next. So this is Tanignathus lofionensis. Then we also have the 200 peso bill, Bohol Chocolate Hills. Animal Tarsier, Tarsius cyricta. Okay, question. Who is the man in the 200 bill? Sige. Who is the man in the 200 bill? Tinatanong yun si GenEd. GenEd Social Science. So, si Diosdado Macapagal. Question. Saan matatagpuan ang Chocolate Hills? Bohol. Question. Sino ang presidenteng galing sa Bohol? Sabay ng GenEd, na tayo, no? Hindi, lang to. A break lang. Sino presidente ang galing sa Bohol? It's actually Carlos P. Garcia. Sige. Okay, sa ano na lang ako mag-aano dyan. Okay, next 100, Mayon Volcano. And I love the animal here, the whale shark, Rhincodon typus. No, ayan siya. Okay, so that is the Mayon Volcano found in where? Where can you find the Mayon Volcano? Okay, saan? Is it in Naga? Sabi ni Mocha. It's actually in Bicol. Specifically in where? Albay. That's correct. Okay? Next. Philippine 50 peso bill is in Taal Lake. Okay? An animal is maliputo, Caranx ignobilis. Diba? Nakakain ba kayo ng maliputo? Ano ba tawag natin dito yan sa Sa Zambales ba may ganito Alam ko meron eh. Yeah, diba? We call it, tama ba? Sapsap. Parang or ito sapsap talaga natin yan. So, Caranx ignobilis. Wrapper. Anong wrapper? Parang hindi ko alam yan. Okay. Anyway, baka Yeah, so that's karang innovates. Okay? WhatsApp. Okay. So 20 peso bill naman is the Banaur Rice Terraces. Again, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So tatandaan din yan. Baka lumabas din to. Palmsibet. Yes, di ba? Saan kilala ang Palmsibet? Sige nga. Sa kanyang, ano, na napakamahal. Di ba? Sa kanyang hay. Diba? O kaya sa ano ba tawag dito? Sa kanyang manure na ginagawang kape. No? So we call it the Paradoxurus Hermaphroditus Philippinensis. Okay? So yeah. Okay? Kape. O, napakamahal. Parang nakabili na ako ng ganyan. Kanina ba ako bumili niya? Sobrang mahal. No? So ayan. So next, the study and science of heredity is called blank. A pathology, pediatrics, geriatrics, genetics. Of course, that is genetics. Okay? Correct. Right, that is genetics. Who's the father of genetics? Of course, that is Gregor Mendel. Correct? Who is the father of invertebrate zoology? Who's the father of invertebrate zoology? That is Aristotle. Okay, that's correct. Okay, next. So geriatrics, no, it's a branch of medicine dealing exclusively with the problems of aging and the disease of the elderly. So pag natanong sa board exam, geriatrics, no? So that is on aging and elderly. Okay, tinanong to 2021. Okay, September. So tatandaan. Gerontology, science dealing with old age. Gerontology is the person who treats problems related to aging. Old age defines a period beyond retirement age, usually around 65 years old. Basta geriatrics, old age, dealing with problems of aging. Okay? Kabaliktaran, we also have pediatrics, no? Branch of medicine that deals with the care of children and adolescents. Okay? So pag geriatrics, elderly, pediatrics, children. Kaya pediatrics. Diba? Pedo, pay, meaning a child. Kaya pedophile. Yon. Meaning healer, sa lectures naman, meaning healer, no? Pediatrics covers the age group less than 18 years of age. Okay? Tatandaan nyo. Okay? Now, nailagay ko lang dito yung trisomy. Sige. Wait lang. Okay. So, pag nakita sa board exam, trisomy 13, what is that? Patau syndrome. Pag trisomy 18, Edward syndrome. At yung very familiar sa inyo, trisomy 21, Down syndrome. So usually, tatanungin nila. Parang trisomy 21 is also known as blank, Down syndrome. Okay? Patau syndrome, trisomy 13. Edward syndrome, trisomy 18. Okay? So next. Jacob syndrome naman, super male, no? XYY. Dalawa yung may excess Y. Okay? So it actually characterizes acne, aggression, tall stature, superior muscle strength, reduced muscle coordination. So super male ang tawag. Okay. We also have monosomy, refers to a missing chromosome from the typical diploid set, yung dalawa. So nawawala yung isa. Tulad, for example, nito, nawala na yung Y. So we can consider it monosomy. Pag may extra chromosome, we call it trisomy. Okay? What are the four most abundant elements in living matter? A, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and carbon. B, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen. C, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, sulfur. Letter D, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and phosphorus. The answer, I can see B, 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 B. All right. So that's correct. Hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen. We call it the CHON. CHON, diba? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Among these four in the human body, which is the most abundant? Among these four, which is the most abundant? Okay, that is oxygen. Oxygen. Okay? Atomic number of hydrogen. Yeah, 70 or around, actually specifically around 68%. Element of hydrogen, 1. Atomic number of oxygen. Atomic number of oxygen. Oxygen is 8. Carbon. Atomic number of carbon. That is carbon, 6. Correct. Nitrogen. Atomic number of nitrogen. Ano na nitrogen? Carbon, oxygen. Okay. If carbon is 6, oxygen is 8. Ano ang nitrogen? O, wala nang sumagot. Nakalimutan niyo na ang nitrogen. That is element number 12 ba? Element number ano? Ano sabi? Sir, nakalimutan. O, anong number? Opo, 'di ba? Element number 9. Tama, 'di ba? Okay, correct. So this nitrogen is actually the most abundant no in our atmosphere. Okay? So ilang percent sa atmosphere? Parang around 78 to 79%. Yes, 78. Okay? So next, which of the following states that is given species the amount of adenine is equal to thymine and the amount of guanine is equal to cytosine? A. Crick's law. B. Franken's law. C. Watson's hypothesis. D. Chargaff's law. Rules. Okay, that's correct. Very good, no? Siyempre, alam na alam natin yan. That's the Chargaff's rules. Okay? Yan. Sabi, I wish I was adenine so I could get paired with you. Diba? Kasi nga, of course, A, diba? G is to C, A is to T, but in RNA, A is to U. Okay, so that is adenine to uracil. Okay, so sana all. All right, so next. What is produced by the mating or interbreeding of two closely related species, namely a female horse and a male donkey? A mare, B stallion, C mule, D hinny. What's the answer, teachers? That's correct. That's correct. Sige. That is mule. Okay, so letter C is the answer. So all of you got it right. So mule, no? So it's a part of our tawag dito yung sinasabi natin. It has to produce no a viable offspring. But if these are two different species, although they are closely related, this will become not viable. No? So that is the mule, no? Okay? Nakakita na ba kayo niyan? Okay, ayan. Okay, so next. So most Americans na oppose cloning. So merong mga ano no, may mga advocates tayo no for cloning. Okay, pero yung iba sinasabi nila na okay, parang hindi naman ano siya no, parang napakahirap kasi ang human genome very ano tawag dito, very intricate no. Kaya medyo mahirap no for the human. So si Dolly the sheep, yes, the world's first animal clone from an adult somatic cell, was introduced to the public in 19 near Edinburgh, Scotland. So pag tinanong yan sa board exam, it's Dolly the sheep. Okay? Yes. So next, what animals have been cloned? So in 1979, researchers produced the first genetically identical mice also by splitting mouse embryos in the test tube and then implanting the resulting embryos into the wombs of adult female mice. So may mga cloning din sa mice. And kapag nakita nyo sa board exam ang stem cell, so a mesenchymal stem cell is a primitive cell with the ability to reduce inflammation, fight apoptosis or death of cell, differentiate into multiple tissues like muscle, bone, and fat and cartilage, and can do self-replication. Usually, ginagamit ang stem cell therapy doon sa mga gustong ma-replenish no, yung kanilang, for example, a certain body part, or kung meron man silang sakit no, to regenerate no, these worn out cells. Okay, so that's why although very ano to mahal, di ba? Ayan, sabi niya si Enrile daw kaya ano, Imelda. Ayan, kaya sobrang ang tagal no, the longevity of life. No? So yung pagpapahaba ng technology. So how can cloning be useful? So it saved endangered species no by storing. I may miss ka lang. By storing DNA and cloning, make multiple copies of a useful gene, insulin for diabetes, for example, then clone spare parts like organs or bone marrow, then create experimental group for studying, and clone special animals, pets, or horses. So mga yan. Although, I don't know, no? I have not read yet cloning, successful cloning for humans. And very ano to, we have to abide by ethical considerations. Okay? So Laika naman, how a stray dog became the first animal to orbit Earth in 1957. So when we say to orbit, he or these particular dogs circumnavigated? Okay? Question. Oo, di ba isa kang bayani daw, Laika. So, Laika the dog. Kung kanina, Dolly the sheep, Laika the dog. Question, who actually first circumnavigated the world? Oh, hindi to Gen Ed Science. Gen Ed Social Science. Sino ang kauna-unahang nakapag-circumnavigate ng mundo? Of course, the Juan Sebastian Elcano. So, Juan Sebastian Elcano is the first man who circumnavigated the world. Ang tawag sa kanya, primo secum de distimi. So, the first man who circumnavigated the world. Okay? So next, who was the author of Principles of Geology, who gave evidence that Earth was subject to slow but continuous geological cycles of erosion and uplift? A. Charles Lyell, B. Charles Darwin, C. Charles Lamarck, D. Charles Windsor. Oh, is the answer. Oh, iba naman yung ultimo adios. That is the last poem of Rizal before his execution on December 30, 1896. Alright, so in this, may D, parang wala pa ako nakikitang tama. May C, wala pa rin ako nakikitang tama. Okay, may A. Okay, that's correct. Letter A. Tinanong na to, paulit-ulit na tinatanong to sa board exam. Sumulat ng Principles of Geology, Charles Lyell. Charles Lyell. Father of Evolution, Charles Darwin. Okay? Okay? So, yan. So, Principles of Geology, Charles Lyell. Sometimes considered the father of geology. Okay? Sir, bakit naman geology naman ba yan? Remember that we also have the abiotic factors. No? So the earth structure is really very important also in biology. Okay? Next, the law of use and disuse by, kanino ko? Kanino yung law of use and disuse? Yes, kay John Baptist Lamarck. So the evolution by transformation, no? So sabi dito, long-necked giraffes, no, evolved as generations of giraffes stretch their necks to reach higher needs. So kapag daw gamit na gamit, mas nagde-develop as mas narrative. Pero kapag hindi na daw nagagamit, disuse, nawawala. Okay, tulad natin noon, sinasabi ng mga humans before, the earlier humans have what? Meron tayong ano yung meron sa atin? Tails, buntot, di ba? Oh, pero nawala na yung buntot. Sa mga lalaki, saan napunta ang buntot? Yun ay malaking tanong. Okay? So, but of course, law of use and disuse states that when certain organs become specially developed as a result of some environmental need, then that state of development is hereditary and can be passed on to progeny or offspring. So, pag nakita progeny, the board exam, offspring or child. So the evidence that we have tails is correct. It's because of the coccyx. So pag tinanong sa board exam, this refers to the tailbone. Ang sasagot, coccyx. Tailbone, coccyx. Okay? Alam niyo yan. Ano pa? Sige, yun. Next, what is true about herbivores? A, they are the main producers in the food chain. They are the apex. They are at the apex of the food chain. C, they can be producers if given adequate water and food. Or letter D, they are only consumers. Okay? Herbivores. Sige, isa-isayin natin. Sir, herbivores, they are main producers. No. Because the main producer are the autotrophs or the plants. B, they are at the apex of the food chain. When they say apex, sa dulo ng food chain. No, remember, those at the apex, those at the dulo are the carnivores. Okay? They can be producers if given adequate water and food. How can an herbivore, which is naturally heterotrophic, become an autotrophic overnight? That's not possible. And the answer, of course, is letter E. They are only consumers which feeds on the producers or autotrophs. Okay? So, yon. Pero pag syempre sa board exam, pag alam niya, kita niyo na agad sagutin. But be careful of the except, not, no? Yung may mga ganyan na, ay, alam ko to, na-review namin to sa board exam. Ang sagot dito is, there are only a not pala. O kaya, all of the following are true except. Okay, all of the following are true about herbivores except. O, diba? So, you have to be very careful. Okay? Which combined tissues are directly involved in the body kicks, a frog lips, or bird flies? Nerves and muscles? B, bones and nerves, C, muscles and bones, D, blood and muscles. We call it the musculoskeletal system. Tama ba? Oh, what's the answer? Okay, muscles and bones. These are the two systems which closely work together for locomotion, for ano ba? For movement, yes, for a framework for a body, muscles and bones. Okay. Question: what is the largest muscle in the human body? Okay, isulat natin sa chat box. Yeah. Any guess? Walang nakalimutan na? Yes, sa may bandang puwetan. That's correct. Sa bandang puwetan. Sa buttocks. We call it the GM. Group message. What is the GM? Gluteus maximus. That's correct. Gluteus maximus is the largest muscle. What's the largest bone in the human body? Largest bone. Sige, dili tayo. Largest bone, human body, femur. Largest internal organ. Largest internal organ. Largest internal organ. Liver. Correct. Liver. Okay, correct. Largest internal organ, liver. How about the largest artery? The largest artery. The largest artery. Aorta. That's correct. Aorta. Yes. Aorta. Largest vein. Largest vein. Largest vein. Vena cava. That's correct. Vena cava. That's correct. Kung gusto pa niya specify, inferior vena cava. Okay? Ano pa mga largest? Largest external organ. Largest external organ. That is correct. Iskun. Skin. Okay. So that's correct. All right. So next, okay. So we have different muscles here. The smooth muscles, cardiac muscle, and skeletal muscle. Question. This is the muscle found in heart. Muscle found in heart, we call it the? Yes, that's correct. Cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle. So this is involuntary. So pag tinanong sa board exam, alin dito ang voluntary? Dalawa. The cardiac muscle and the smooth muscle. Cardiac muscle and smooth muscle are involuntary, while skeletal muscle are voluntary. Oh, try mong pigilan yung puso mo na nagla-love-love. You cannot because this is involuntary. Okay? Try mong pigilan yung internal organs mo. Okay? Okay, this is involuntary. But for the skeletal muscle, yan, you can actually, diba? It's voluntary. Sabi dito, try mo daw wag kumain. Pwede naman, no? Okay, sige. Try mo, Ace. Okay, so next, which of the following pertains to slight quantifiable evolutionary modification within a population from generation to generation? A, microevolution. B, artificial selection. C, generational selection. D, evolutionary upheaval. Alright, of course, natanong ko na rin to sa aking lecture video sa Gen and Science, Gen and Biological Science, microevolution. Slight quantifiable evolutionary modification. Question. What is the basic unit again of evolution? What is the basic unit again of evolution? That is correct. You can see it in the stem, population. Population. Alright? Pag sinabing generation to generation, ayan. So, ito yung mga sinasabing salin lahi. Mula sa isang salin lahi, patungo sa iba pang salin lahi. Okay? So, microevolution is change in populations allele frequency over short time period. So, next generation. So, if this is 70% green alleles and 30% blue, then in the next generation, it could have a very slight quantifiable change. It could be 50 to 50, green and blue allele. Okay? So next, we're down to the last few slides. Okay, the generation to generation change in frequency or of alleles within population is called microevolution. It's evolution on the smallest scale. So pag tinanong sa board exam, it refers to an evolution on the smallest scale, answer microevolution. So mechanism nito, pwedeng natural selection, pwedeng sexual selection, artificial selection, genetic drift, or gene flow. Okay, sabi dito, predator eats the more easily seen beetles lacking the brown gene, so resulting in an increase in brown gene frequency. Okay, so this could be this could result to a microevolution. So ito yung mga mechanism ng microevolution. Una, genetic drift, nagkakaroon ng change sa gene pool ng small population due to chances. Pwede siyang bottleneck effect or founder effect. So parang bottleneck effect, kung imagine nyo isang bote, may bottleneck, yung pinaka-leeg ng bote. Usually, kung sino yung mga lalabas doon, no? Yun yung magkakaroon na, kunya randomly, no? Kung ano yung mga lalabas doon sa bottleneck na yun yung magiging, tawag dito, species characteristic ng gene pool. No? So usually, nagkakaroon lang ng small chance, small population due to chances. So depende kasi random nga yung paglabas doon. Gene flow naman is the gain or loss of alleles from a population with a movement. So flow meaning movement. So nagkakaroon ng pagbabago ng allelic change because of immigration or migration. For example, lahat ng mga brown skin animals mag-emigrate, aalis. So basically, sino na lang magkakaroon ng reproduction doon? Yung mga non-brown. So basically, magkakaroon ng gain or loss of allele. Pwedeng gain kasi pumunta, na-immigrate, pumunta inside the population or umalis, loss or exit of population. Okay? Pwede rin mutation, nagkakaroon ng change sa organism's DNA na nagkakaroon ng new allelic formation. Okay? So mutation, kaya usually, sinasabi nila, kapag may mga slight mutation sa among species, pwede siyang will lead to really microevolution, eventual evolution kung it's in the entire population. Non-random mating, the selection of mates other than by chance, no? So usually nakikipag-random mate, no? Yung ibang mga species in other, for example, dominant species of the same species, pwedeng ganon. And then natural selection, of course, based on reproduction, differential reproduction. So mas natitira at mas nag-i-exist at nagsusurvive yung mga greater characteristics. And it will retain or remain. Okay? So which of the following countries may be considered as a tropical rainforest? Natanong na natin to. A, Spain, B, Philippines, C, Netherlands, D, Korea. Of course, the answer is Philippines. Question, is Philippines an archipelago? Yes or no? Is Philippines an archipelago? Yes or no? Yes. Is Philippines part of what ring? Ano yung ring na nakabilang ang Philippines na lagi rin lumalabas sa Gen Ed Science? Pacific Ring of Fire. No? So meaning, kung bahagi tayo ng Pacific Ring of Fire, anong meron sa atin? Anong marami sa Pilipinas? Marami itong apoy? Okay. Active volcano. No? Active volcano. Pag tinanong sa board exam, anong tawag sa active volcano? Okay, na nasa Albay. Okay, syempre that is your Mayon. Na nasa Zambales. Nasa Zambales. Okay, Pinatubo. Prior to the Pinatubo eruption in 1991, ang tawag sa Pinatubo noon, it's a dormant. Kasi ang tagal eh. Parang around 600 years, no? Hindi siya nag-erupt. But eventually, noong 1991, ginising kaya siya Pinatubo. Tinawag na nilang Pinatubo. I'm not sure kung may pangalan na siya before, pero feeling ko wala. So, it was just named Pinatubo right after the 1991 eruption. Pang ilang taon niya na ngayon, ang Pinatubo ngayon 2022. Do you have a guess? 31. Okay. So, that's my age. Okay. Pinatubo baby ako. So, ayan. So, largest to smallest land area. So, of course, you know very well that Asia is the largest, followed by followed by Africa, then North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. So, pag tinanong sa board exam, largest continent, ano ulit? Largest continent? Asia. Smallest continent? Smallest continent? Australia. That is correct. Okay. Yeah. Next. Mark has straight black hair because both his parents have straight black hair. What can you deduce from the preceding statements? A. The character and color of hair is determined by genetics. B. There is no relation between his hair and that of his parents. C. Mark is adopted. D. His hair will remain the same even when he gets old. Okay. What can you deduce? What can you conclude from the preceding statements? It can be deduced in this statement. It can be concluded in this statement. Remember, deduction. Deduction, conclusion, generalization. Diba? From general to specific. Induced, induction. From specific to general. So the answer is letter A. The character and color of hair is determined by genetics. Ano pa yung tinanong nun? What is the name given by Mendel sa gene? What is the name given by Mendel sa gene? Hindi niya tinawag na gene ito. Tinawag muna niya tong factor. Anong factor? Heritable factor. Namamanang factor. Okay? So that's it. Next. So genetic information, you have your gene, the basic unit of genetic information. So nakita, basic unit of genetic information, we have gene. Genes determine the inherited characteristics. And so gene contains the traits. Genome is the collection of genetic information. That's why we have human genome, sequencing ito ng mga genes. Okay? Genome, sequencing ito ng mga genes. Okay? Chromosome is the storage unit of genes. So, si chromosome ito, no? At laman ng at nakalaman dito yung mga genes. Pag kinompleto mo, kinolect mo lahat ng genes ng tao, that is the genome. Okay? While the DNA is a nucleic acid that contains the genetic instructions specifying the biological development of all cellular forms of life. So therefore, yung DNA nandyan sa mga segments na yan. Okay? That is your deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay? So tatandaan. Okay, next. Okay, pag tinanong sa board exam, ilan ba amino acids? Okay. Ilan ba ang amino acids? Okay, na kailangan natin. Okay? But not, of course, are naturally produced, no, in the human body. So we call it marami. Okay? 20. Okay, so 20 ito. So usually, ito yung mga yon, no? We have the non-polar, the polar, the positive charge, or what we call the cation, and the negative charge, or the anion. So basically, ayan, ito ay nakikita natin, no, in your genetic code. Glycine, alanine, valine, cysteine, proline, leucine, isoleucine, methionine, tryptophan, phenylalanine. Then you also have the positive charge lysine, arginine, and histidine. The negative charge aspartic acid and glutamic acid. Then for the polar, we have serine, threonine, tyrosine, asparagine, and glutamine. So basically, these are the 20 amino acids, and these are actually monomers of course, your proteins. Okay. Question. Ilan naman yung kayang ma-produce ng tao? If we have 20 amino acids, no, we can actually, so these are actually the 8, no, essential amino acids, no. We call it the 8 essential amino acids, no, for adults. Although, tignan natin mamaya for children. So meron tayong 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. Methionine, valine, threonine, phenylalanine, leucine, isoleucine, tryptophan, and lysine. So pag tinanong sa board exam, piliin sa mga sumusunod ang pagkain na kompleto ang 8 essential amino acids. So pwedeng you can have your beans, no, and other legumes. Ayan. Kompleto, halos kompleto yan. Or corn, maize, and other grains. But usually, yes, it's the beans and other lactum. Ayan. May mga essential amino acids. Okay? So this essential cannot be made by the body, no, and must be obtained by food, no? We call it the essential amino acids. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, bakit 10? Kasi yung dalawa dyan pang children, the 8 is actually for adults. So sabi dito, Vincent's lovely mother, ito siya, took him to London in a pram. Yung pram ito, ano ba yan? Parang ang tawag niya, stroller. Yan. So that is your valine, lysine, methionine, tryptophan, histidine for children, threonine, leucine, isoleucine, arginine, and phenylalanine. So that is the 8 amino acids for adult, and then 2 of them are actually for children. Plus 10. Plus 2. Okay? Okay, next. True about Down syndrome. A, due to presence of 2 dominant lethal genes. B, those afflicted or genetically violent people. C, patients required to be institutionalized. D, also called trisomy 21. Siyempre, this is a very basic question. Trisomy 21. How about Patau syndrome? Patau syndrome. Trisomy 13. That's correct. Trisomy 13. Okay? So these are some, no? So pag yun namang Turner syndrome, meron tayong monosomy, no? X, no? So 45. Okay? So usually, ayan, X lang yan, no? In business dun sa 46 pair na kulang ng isa. So the only one, so X. Then we also have the Edwards syndrome, no? Trisomy 18. We also have the Patau trisomy 13, trisomy 9, or Mitosis. We have Predation syndrome, deletion, no? May deletion siya sa P15, okay? Yung sa P-arm ng chromosome, then Wolff-Hirschhorn deletion. Okay? We also have sana isa. Prader-Willi and Angelman syndrome, so deletion din yan. So usually to sa ano to, either in the P-arm or the Q-arm of the chromosome. Okay? So starch, stable sugar, and rice are source of A, proteins, B, purine, C, carbohydrates, D, fats. A very easy question. Okay, that's correct. Letter C. So alam nyo na yan. Okay, so carbohydrates, sugar, rice, yan. Starches, kamote, ayan. So these are some, no? We have potatoes, pumpkin seed potatoes, yan yung kamote mo. For legumes, there are also smart carbohydrates, okay, na rich din ito sa essential amino acids. Mangoes, melons, oranges, persimmons, pineapple, watermelon, guava, yung mga common, banana, yan, mga carbohydrates, carbs, okay? Now, tinatanong din sa board exam ito. So, tatandaan nyo din ito. So, pag sinabing sucrose, so you have glucose, no, bonded with fructose. So, glucose plus fructose, we have sucrose. Galactose plus glucose, we have lactose. And glucose plus glucose, we have maltose. So, therefore, glucose, fructose, and galactose are monosaccharide or disaccharide. Glucose, fructose, and galactose are considered mono or di? Yes, monosaccharide. While sucrose, lactose, and maltose are considered what? Yes, that is disaccharide. SLM, no? Sucrose, lactose, maltose. Ano yung SLM sa Prof-Ed? What is SLM in Prof-Ed? In Prof-Ed, SLM is self-learning module or self-learning module. But in botany, or I mean in biology, biochemistry, we have sucrose, lactose, and maltose. Tinatanong din sa board exam ito. This is also known as the fruit sugar. This is also known as the fruit sugar. What's the answer? Fructose. That's correct. Fructose. Ayan, natatandaan. Okay, now we have here the vitamins. So, alam niyo na to, retinol, thiamine for B1, riboflavin for B2. Yes, maltose is beer. Yes, maltose, beer, fructose, fruit sugar. B3, niacin. Kaya pag which of the following sa vitamin is niacin is vitamin B3. Vitamin B6, pyridoxine, vitamin B9, folic acid, vitamin B12, cobalamin, vitamin C, ascorbic acid, vitamin D is calciferol. You have D2 and D3, ergocalciferol, cholecalciferol, and then tocopherol, vitamin E. Then vitamin K, phylloquinol. Okay? So pag tinanong, what is lacking when you have berry-berry? What vitamin is that? Pag kulang. What B? What vitamin B? Vitamin B1. So pag berry-berry, kulang ka ng thiamine or vitamin B1. Okay? While pellagra, ito, no, pellagra is common din sa board exam, niacin or B3. Kulang ng ang niacin, ang pellagra lacks actually niacin. Ano ba yung usually? Scurvy, alam niyo na yan, ascorbic acid, rickets and stimulation, calciferol, vitamin D, night blindness, and keratomalacia is vitamin E. Okay? So the rest, hindi naman masyadong tinatanong. Okay? Pero at least alam natin. Okay? Okay. Question so far. Fat soluble, addict, then the rest are water soluble. Okay? Who accidentally discovered the penicillin, which ushered the era of antibiotics? A. Alexander Fleming. B. Louis Pasteur. C. Robert Koch. D. Joseph Lester. Yeah. Of course, that is Alexander Fleming. That is correct. Question: what was the organism discovered? Wow. Okay, actually it's correct. It's Penicillium notatum. Okay, it's Penicillium. Sounds like, okay, sounds like pwede na yan. Basta alam mo, makikita mo naman yan sa board exam. That's Penicillium notatum. Okay, so Louis Pasteur, pasteurization, Robert Koch has contributed a lot in microbiology, and Joseph Lester is another working, I think, under still in microbiology. Okay, question: ano yung pinatay ng Penicillium notatum? Ano yung pinatay niyang microorganism? Hindi petri dish ang pinatay niya. Sabay ganun. Okay. That's correct, no? That is Staphylococcus aureus. Okay, that's Staphylococcus aureus was the one being killed. Kaya sabi niya, okay, good antibiotic ito. It was discovered by accident. How do you call the process of discovery by Fleming ng Penicillium notatum? We call it letter S. How do you call it? That's correct. Serendipity. Discovery by accident. Okay, next. Okay, the discovery of penicillin is attributed to Scottish scientist and Nobel laureate Alexander Fleming in 1928. So thanks to penicillin, we will come home. He will come home. Okay. So Andrew Jackson Moyer was an American microbiologist who is known mainly for his work on the development of industrial production methods for various microorganisms. So in May 11, 1945, method for the production of penicillin. Remember, in 1945, anong meron? In 1945, what is happening in the world? In 1945. Yes, nagkaroon tayo ng ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig o World War II. Kailan naman nangyari ang World War III? Kailan naman galing ang World War III? Okay? Kailan? Okay, bakit wala sumasagot? Wala pa, syempre. Malapit na daw. Nangyari na ba? Hindi. O, hindi pa po. But of course, we are battling, actually, no, we're battling a world war now. It's actually more of anong tawag nila sa biological war, di ba? Biological war. So we have this pandemic. No? Ayan. So nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic, COVID-19 due to the coronavirus. Okay, bioweapon yung term na. Biological warfare. Okay. So Robert Koch was born in Germany and obtained his medical degree from Göttingen. He made innumerable contributions to the field of microbiology and understanding of infectious disease. So he was an expert on bacteriological techniques, and many of the techniques used today are based on the Koch's original techniques or the Koch's postulates. No? So yan, tatandaan nyo sa Koch's postulate. So pag nakita naman ito, no, so you can see here a healthy brain and the Huntington's disease, the brain which has a Huntington's disease. So you can see degeneration and atrophy of the dorsal striatum here in this part of the brain. So pag nakita ninyo what is the major characteristic of the person with Huntington's disease at nakita nyo degeneration of brain, that's the answer. Okay, degeneration of brain or degeneration and atrophy of the dorsal striatum, that's the best answer to pick. Okay, so next. True of annelids, A has an exoskeleton made up of chitin, B have a variety of respiratory organ, C undergo metamorphosis, D segmented worms. Okay, of course, annelids, you know that very well. Lagi nating sinasabi. Of course, these are segmented worms. Okay, annelids are segmented worms. Okay, so meaning little rings. Okay, may segments. Okay, so meron tayong clitellum dito. Ito yung setae, no? By the way, yung setae, dito sa part ng tawag dito ng earthworm ay ginagamit sa hydroskeleton for locomotion. Yes, a hydroskeleton. Okay, the liquid portion, hollow fluid. No? So distinguished by segmentation body cavity, range and length from 1 millimeter and 2 3 millimeter bilateral symmetrical. By the way, clitellum is used for the for the sexual reproduction, whilst the tail is used for locomotion. Question, how many hearts does earthworm have? Okay, meron siyang, yes, they have actually 5. Okay? Yes. Ayun. So last na pala yun. So sakto lang din tayo. So almost 11. So keep calm and top the board exam. Okay? So meron ba kayong tanong? Do you have questions so far? Ayan, yung iba natutulog na ba? At hindi na sumasagot? Yay, alright. So thank you so much again no, for being with me for the last 3 hours no, of our review. Tomorrow, we will rest, but you will have a special activity. I mentioned that already. And yes, still no, praying for all of you to be able to pass the board exam this coming October 2, 2020. For those who will be taking the board exam by March 2023, God bless. No, this is actually a very tawag dito, very early preparation. Okay, let me start recording.